So I actually want to go into, like, there's specific places in the Torah where it seems to, a person who's just looking at the text for, what it says, like in specifically Noach, it seems like there's an interweaving of potentially different texts. Like the story of the raven and the dove, they're kind of like overlapping with each other. The problem, obviously, when people try to say, there's multiple authors, if that was the case, if there were multiple authors, and the way they believe it is that like literally every sentence might have four authors, putting in their different ideas, it wouldn't be, I don't think it would be possible to be coherent. So how do you find, how do you deal with these kind of questions?
Right. Okay, let me just say a little bit more about that particular example of biblical criticism, the flood story of Bereshit, chapters 6-9. That is considered the parade example of biblical criticism. You see, when you read the story of the Mabul, of the flood, okay, chapters 6-9, you immediately notice that there's many, many things that are repeated. Things happen twice and 3 and 4. I mean, the number of times that Noach gets onto the teva must be about 4 times, okay? And he gets off a couple times, and many things seem to happen many times. Even our Mefarshim in the Middle Ages understood you cannot read the story of the Mabul A to Z as one linear story, that every pasuk chronologically is following the previous story, okay? And what critics tried to do was they said, well, what we can seem to be able to do here is to get rid of a lot of these redundancies by separating the story into 2 strands. And you can see that there's a whole story and most of a whole story. And within those 2 versions, everything seems to be consistent. And then apparently what happened was that there were 2 traditions about the Mabul, and later a redactor came along and melded them together. And that's how we come to our version, so goes the theory. This is how we come to our version of the Torah, where we have a story that has many repetitions in it, and maybe perhaps even some things that are contradictory, okay? That's the claim, all right? Now, I think that there are about 8 or 9 methodological flaws with this, but let me just, I mean, depends how much time we have to discuss this, but this is a classic example of needing to know how ancients wrote and how they thought. So let me just start off by saying there's no evidence anywhere in the ancient world of editors in any culture doing this sort of thing, of taking coherent texts and molding them to create something that is incoherent, okay? And so it'd be kind of strange that this happens here. If you saw this happening in every single story in the Torah consistently, and you were able to parcel out 2 full, complete stories everywhere, well, maybe, but it doesn't work that way. It's, it's a story here, it's a story here, it's a story here. And it doesn't even create 2 full stories. But the thing that I want to point out is how much is missed when we do that. Now let's see. I want to bring up some things onto the screen that I hadn't been planning, okay, before our meeting, but I think it'll be, since you've asked, I want to show some things on the screen, okay?